Hello friends. This is Phoenix What If. How are you all? So in this video, we will see what if Ichigo and Rukia are teleported to Naruto's world by the Soul Society. But before we start, if you want more amazing stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also, if possible, share this video with your friends. Now without wasting any more time, let's begin the story. Ichigo and Rukia stood by a couple of feudal-era houses in the Soul Society. Ichigo had never been in the Soul Society. So this is the Soul Society. I thought it would be better than this. I mean, everything here looks just like feudal Japan and all of the houses are covered in mildew and mold. Boring, said Ichigo while looking around. The Soul Society looked exactly like feudal Japan and everyone looked and acted like they were in feudal Japan. Rukia hit him on the head and yelled, "Shut up." Rukia continued to yell at him and she told him to not act like an idiot when the division leader arrived. The reason Ichigo and Rukia were there was because they had been given orders to immediately go to the Soul Society and meet the division leader at a certain location and wait there for him. Rukia stopped yelling and Ichigo got up when they heard someone walking to their direction. When they got a better look at who was coming, it was the division leader. The leader had long white hair and was 6 inches 3. He walked toward Ichigo and Rukia. The leader stood in front of them and said, "The reason you were called here was because we have discovered a way to make a portal and go to another world. Only I and a few other Soul Reapers have learned it, and I have been ordered to send you to the other world," said the leader. "While you're in the other world, we want you to rescue more souls and kill more hollows. We will pull you out of the world in 12 hours, so don't waste any time. You and the rest of your division will be going to the other world. The Soul Society can sense when hollows are near you, your location in the other world, and what your medical condition is," said the leader. "When we sense you are hurt, we will bring you back. Now, I will make a portal and when I do, run in it," said the leader while taking out his sword. "Got it," said Ichigo. "Okay," said Rukia. The leader gathered pure energy around the blade of his katana. Then, he held his sword above his head. Finally, he swung his sword down to the ground. A portal opened in the air. The leader yelled, "Go." Ichigo and Rukia ran in the portal. Ichigo and Rukia stopped when they entered the world. They took out their swords and looked around their environment. They listened and watched for anything. They slowly took small, quiet steps forward. Rukia didn't sense anything near them. Ichigo and Rukia put their swords up and walked around the forest they were in. They walked through the forest for about 40 minutes. Suddenly, Rukia had sensed a hollow near their position. Rukia sensed the hollow get closer and closer. After a couple of minutes, the hollow found them and attacked. The hollow tried to slash Rukia with his razor-sharp claws. Rukia jumped, ducked, and sidestepped around the hollow's attacks. While Rukia was dodging the hollow's attacks, Ichigo snuck behind the hollow. Rukia jumped above the hollow's claw and then she jumped on its arm. She ran towards his face while Ichigo ran towards its neck. The hollow threw Rukia off its arm, but then Ichigo quickly jumped behind the hollow's neck. Blood flew in the air and splattered on the ground when Ichigo stabbed it through the neck. The hollow screamed and disappeared. Ichigo sheathed his sword. Rukia sheathed her sword and got up from the ground. "That was a weak hollow," said Rukia. "I could tell," said Ichigo. They kept walking through the forest. They eventually found a dirt road. They decided to follow it towards the nearest village. After about 10 minutes of walking down the dirt road, Rukia sensed an enormous amount of pure evil energy from an evil presence. "I sense an enormous amount of evil energy from an evil spirit. It seems the spirit is sealed in something holding it back. This is no doubt a very powerful hollow," said Rukia. "If there it is a hollow, we will kill it," said Ichigo. "I don't know if we are powerful enough," said Rukia. "Let's continue to walk to the village and look for that hollow you were talking about," said Ichigo. "Okay," said Rukia. As Rukia and Ichigo walked down the dirt road, they kept their hands on the handle of the sword ready to unsheath at any time. The evil energy increased as they got closer to the village. Ichigo and Rukia saw a large stone wall in the distance. "Ichigo, this hollow, there is so much evil power coming from it. I can sense this hollow is 50x more powerful than both of us combined. We can't possibly fight this beast," said Rukia backing away from the village. "I am also sensing the hollow is sealed inside something that is holding it back. It can't hurt anybody while it is imprisoned," said Rukia. Then, let's go in the village and look for souls that haven't moved on to the next life, said Ichigo. Rukia nodded her head and walked with Ichigo towards the village. They got to the stone wall surrounding the village and looked for an entrance. They walked around the wall for a couple of minutes looking for an entrance. They found an entrance and walked inside. They saw people in green battle vests and kunai holsters around their leg. Ichigo and Rukia were in their Soul Reaper bodies, so no one could see them. Rukia didn't sense in hollows or souls nearby. As they walked around the village, Rukia sensed the evil energy coming from the village. Rukia and Ichigo followed the evil energy to the source. As they got closer, two hollows stopped them. Rukia couldn't detect them because the evil energy was so strong. Ichigo and Rukia pulled out their swords. One of the hollows charged at Ichigo and tried to bite him with his fangs. The other hollow shot a blast of pure demonic energy at Rukia. Rukia dodged the power blast and sidestepped closer to the hollow. Ichigo kept dodging the hollow's bite attacks. The hollow was so fast, Ichigo could barely dodge it. The hollow barbarically jumped at Ichigo trying to bite him with his fangs. Ichigo was able to dodge it and turn his body around. He held his sword above his head and cut the hollow's neck. Ichigo cut off the hollow's head completely. Blood gushed from its neck and splattered on the ground. Just as Ichigo killed the hollow, Rukia was still dodging the fast, deadly demonic energy blasts. Ichigo tried to sneak behind the hollow, but it saw him. The hollow held his hands above his head, making a giant orb of pure demonic energy. The hollow split the orb in two and threw one at Ichigo and the other one at Rukia. Ichigo and Rukia were barely able to avoid it. The hollow dashed at Ichigo and attacked with its claws. Ichigo blocked its attacks with his sword. Rukia held her sword above her head while jumping at its neck. The hollow moved out of the way of her attack. Ichigo attacked from the front and Rukia attacked from the back. The hollow turned its body sideways and fought them both. Ichigo and Rukia fought the hollow with their swords for a minute. Ichigo's blade, Rukia's blade, and the hollow's claw swiftly and quickly flew through the air, constantly clashing with each other. After a minute of fighting the hollow with his sword, Ichigo was able to cut off one of the hollow's arm. Blood poured out of its arm and flowed on the ground. The hollow flew in the air. Ichigo and Rukia jumped in the air with their swords pointing at it. Ichigo and Rukia were able to stab the hollow and kill it. They sheathed their swords. They walked through the village following the evil energy to the source. Ichigo, this demonic energy is not of a hollow, it is of something much, much more powerful, said Rukia. We will find out what it is, said Ichigo. Rukia could sense the source of the evil was nearby. They ran through the village for 5 minutes until Rukia sensed the source of the demonic energy was literally right around the corner. They looked behind a local rice shop. They saw a large mob of people with weapons surrounding a blonde-haired boy named Naruto Uzumaki. Ichigo, that is the source of the demonic energy, it is coming from that boy, that blonde-haired boy, said Rukia. Ichigo yelled, that mob of people have swords, knives, and bow and arrows, they're going to kill the boy. Ichigo drew his sword from his sheath and dashed towards Naruto. The entire group of people ran towards Naruto while yelling, D. Naruto covered his head thinking he was going to die. He felt liquid drop on his face. He opened his eyes and saw the entire mob dead bleeding. Blood was everywhere on the ground. Naruto saw Ichigo holding a sword with blood dripping off of it. Who are you? Asked Naruto. My name is Ichigo Kurosaki, said Ichigo. Ichigo asked, what is your name? My name is Naruto Uzumaki, said Naruto. Ichigo asked, why were those people attacking you? Naruto replied, I don't know, people always attack me and are mean to me. Ichigo thought, I know that powerful demon is inside him, people must hate him for that, if he was to have the demon removed, then he could become a powerful Soul Reaper. Ichigo asked, hey, Naruto, how would you like to come with me to my world? There you will be treated nicely and with respect, you will also be trained there and you will become much more powerful. I would like to go with you, I hate this place, said Naruto. Wait here, said Ichigo. Ichigo walked towards Rukia who had watched Ichigo kill the mob of people. I had to stop that mob from killing the boy, said Ichigo. I am glad you did, said Rukia. That boy can have the demon exorcised out of him, then he could become a powerful soul reaper. That is why I want him to come with us to our world. The boy has already said he wants to come with us. His name is Naruto Uzumaki," said Ichigo. "Fine, he can come with us," said Rukia. "Wow, for once you actually agree with me," said Ichigo. Rukia hit him on the head and said, "Don't push your luck." Ichigo held his head and walked to Naruto. Ichigo said, "Naruto, come with us." Naruto nodded his head and followed Ichigo. Ichigo explained everything about the Soul Society, Soul Reapers, and his world to Naruto. Rukia sent a message to the Soul Society saying that they need to get home and they have important information. Rukia and Ichigo took Naruto with them as they left the village. It has been 6 years since Naruto Uzumaki had went to Ichigo's world. Naruto Uzumaki had really trained hard in all 4 of the Soul Reaper combat areas: Kido, hand-to-hand combat, foot combat, and swordsmanship. Naruto joined 13th Division with Ichigo and Rukia. Naruto trained so hard, his strength was equal to Ichigo's strength. Naruto had his own sword. His sword was a katana and was the same size as Rukia's katana. The upper half of Naruto's blade was dark red and the other lower half was black. The crossguard was light brown fox fur. The hilt was wrapped in black and red bandages. Naruto's katana was called Kitsune Honu. Naruto and Ichigo were training in a secluded part of a nearby forest. Rukia decided to stay at Ichigo's home, but she would contact Ichigo if there were any trouble, like a hollow attack or something like that. Naruto blocked Ichigo's sword attacks. He kept practicing his defense by blocking Ichigo's attacks. Naruto practiced his sword defense for 30 minutes and then he practiced his offense. Ichigo blocked Naruto's sword attacks. Naruto mixed his quick, weaker attacks with his slower, stronger attacks. Naruto would also mix up his combos. Sometimes he would use a 3-hit combo, a 5-hit combo, a 4-hit combo, etc. After a certain number combo, Naruto would go into a defense position for a couple of seconds. Then, he would attack again. Naruto wasn't trying to kill Ichigo. When he felt his blade touch his body, he would stop immediately. The worst Ichigo would get would be a small, non-lethal cut. Naruto's blade rushed through the air towards Ichigo. Naruto's blade continuously collided with Ichigo's blade. Naruto practiced his offense for 30 minutes. Then, Naruto stopped attacking and Ichigo stopped defending. "Naruto, let's free spar for 30 minutes and that will be enough training for today," said Ichigo. Naruto said, "Yeah, I need to train more so I can be the next king of the Soul Society, believe it." Ichigo said, "Begin." Naruto and Ichigo fought each other in a sword battle. They swung their blades through the air towards each other. The sound of metal clashing filled the air as Naruto's blade and Ichigo's blade slam into each other. Naruto and Ichigo had their sword battle with each other for 30 minutes, then Naruto jumped back a couple of feet and said, "Hado spell number 107, Fox Firebomb." Naruto created a fireball a little bigger than Ichigo's body. Then, he threw the fireball. The fireball was very fast and it was a very deadly spell. The spell creates a fireball in the user's hand. The user then throws the fireball at your opponent. The fireball imprisons your opponent and in a microsecond, the inside explodes and kills anyone or anything inside it. The fireball flew at Ichigo. Ichigo said, "Binding spell number 89, Earth Binding." Ichigo touched the ground. Then, he gathered earth around his hand. Next, he grabbed the fireball. Finally, he threw the fireball back at Naruto. Naruto jumped in the air getting out his katana. Naruto said, "Hado spell number 56, Star Bomb." Naruto held his hand behind him. Then, he gathered pure energy in his hand. Next, he held the pure energy in front of him. Finally, he launched a big beam of energy at Ichigo. The beam was fast, but Ichigo was able to evade it. Ichigo moved so fast, he couldn't be seen. He was behind Naruto in 3 seconds. He said, "Bakudo spell number 1, Sai." Naruto fell to the ground unable to move. "Naruto, your Hado spells and swordsmanship is great, but you let your guard down when you use Hado spells and you need to work on your Bakudo spells," said Ichigo. Ichigo said, "You need to practice on keeping your guard up when you use Hado spells and you need to work on Bakudo spells." "Hey, I will beat you one day, Ichigo-sensei. Believe it, said Naruto. Ichigo released the spell and Naruto got up from the ground. Naruto, just call me Ichigo, that is enough training for today, said Ichigo. Naruto said, I need to train more. Ichigo replied, I will buy you ramen if you come home. Naruto ran towards Ichigo's house saying, what are we waiting for? Ichigo ran towards his house with Naruto. Naruto actually lived at Ichigo's house. Ichigo secretly let Naruto sleep under his bed and he secretly let Rukia stay in his closet. As Naruto and Ichigo ran home, they never suspected that Rukia was getting her ass kicked by a powerful hollow. Rukia tried to slash the hollow with her katana, but the hollow blocked it with his claws. The hollow threw Rukia off balance by pushing her with his claws. Then, it knocked her to the ground. Rukia had fought the hollow a couple of minutes after Naruto and Ichigo had left to train. She was covered in scars and blood. She lost so much blood and she was so injured, she was almost unconscious and dead. If she lost a little more blood, she would die. Rukia lost consciousness. The hollow walked over to her and was about to stab her with its claws. It tried to thrust its claw in her body, but Naruto cut off its arm before it could. The hollow went back to its world in between the world of the living and the soul society. Naruto and Ichigo sat by Rukia. Ichigo felt her neck. Her vital signs were dangerously low, said Ichigo. She is just unconscious and severely injured, said Ichigo while picking her up. Ichigo said, Naruto, go in the house and don't leave it and wait for me until I get back. Naruto nodded his head and ran in the house. Ichigo ran to the hospital as fast as he could. He went into his Soul Reaper body so no one could see him or Rukia. It only took him 3 minutes to get to the hospital. When he got to the hospital, he switched back to his Gigai. He burst in the lobby and ran to the nurse behind the front desk. He told them everything that happened to Rukia. The nurse immediately took her to a hospital room. The nurse opened the door and Ichigo laid Rukia on a hospital bed. I am going to get more doctors, said the nurse while walking out of the room. Meanwhile, Naruto kept his sword unsheathed and held it in front of him. That hollow will be back, said Naruto. Naruto kept his guard up and didn't drop it. That hollow was able to kick Rukia's butt, then it could easily kill him. Naruto had learned to sense souls in hollows, but it wasn't near as good as Rukia's. After a couple of minutes, Naruto sensed a strong hollow nearby. That hollow is near. The hollow got closer and closer. It was eventually right in front of Ichigo's house. Naruto got up and got in a defensive position. The hollow disappeared and Naruto sat down. Suddenly, a portal of darkness opened and a hollow claw came out. The hollow tried to cut Naruto with its claw. Naruto sensed it and moved out of its way. A powerful hollow came out of the portal. Naruto got back in a defensive position. The hollow blew a hole through the wall. Naruto jumped outside and the hollow followed him. The hollow gathered demonic energy in its hand. Then, it shot S giant beam of swirling demonic energy. Naruto couldn't dodge the beam. Naruto fell to the ground. He was hurt a little, but it was nothing serious or fatal. Naruto got up from the ground. Naruto said, Hado spell number 67, Dragon Flames. Naruto put his hand in front of him. Naruto made a small fireball in his hand. Then, he launched a big flame of fire from his hand. The hollow eluded the flame of fire. The hollow was able to get up to Naruto and slash him with his claws. Naruto fell to the ground bleeding. He was able to Kitsune Honu and get up from the ground. The hollow shot a huge swirling beam of demonic energy. Naruto managed to stay clear of the beam. The hollow rapidly shot faster, less powerful blast of demonic energy. Naruto got hit with a few, but it didn't wound him too much. Naruto was still able to stand, walk, and run. He got his katana while charging at the hollow. The hollow tried to shoot blast of demonic energy, but Naruto used what he leaned from Ichigo. He was able to move so fast, it seemed like he was everywhere at once. Naruto was able to get up to the hollow and cut its face. Blood spew out of the deep, big scar across his face. The hollow throbbed its head in pain. It attacked Naruto with its claws. Naruto kept blocking its attacks. He saw an opening and struck. He almost hit the hollow, but it blocked his sword strike at the last minute. Naruto pulled back his sword and got in a defensive position. Naruto fought the hollow with his Kitsunehonu and the hollow fought Naruto with its claws. Naruto fought the hollow with its sword for 30 minutes. Kitsunehonu and the hollow's claw endlessly flew through the air, both trying to slice the other person. Naruto fought the hollow with his sword for 30 minutes. He jumped in the air saying, Hado spell number 26, Earth Spear. Naruto made the rocks underneath the hollow form a jagged spear. The spear dashed at the hollow. The spears were SP fast, the hollow was barely able to dodge them. Naruto landed on the ground while saying, Hade spell number 47, Rapid Fire Energy Blast. Naruto shot blast of energy rapidly. The hollow moved at incredibly high speeds. It got past the blast of energy. It sliced Naruto with its claws again. He fell to the ground badly bleeding. He was injured pretty badly, but he was still able to fight. He noticed that every time he used a Hado spell, the hollow is able to get up to him and slice him. He knew he wasn't keeping up his guard. Naruto got up from the ground saying, Hade spell number 78, Swirling Fire Cannon. Naruto held up his hand in front of his face. He launched a huge, powerful swirling beam of fire. The hollow couldn't dodge all of the fire beam. He got one of his arms burned off. Blood poured from the hole left by his disembodied arm. It flew at Naruto. It tried to attack with its claws, but Naruto kept up his guard and blocked its attack. He moved back a couple of inches. Then, he quickly jumped and sliced the hollow's shoulder. Blood was gaping from that big injury on its shoulder. The hollow was severely injured and weakened. Naruto jumped behind the hollow while it was throbbing in agonizing pain. He said, Bakudo spell number 6, Disabling of Evil. Naruto touched the hollow. The hollow fell to the ground unable to move. While it was on the ground, Naruto stabbed it with his katana. Blood spewed out of the place Naruto had stabbed. The hollow vanished in a wave of darkness. He ran inside Ichigo's house. He applied bandages and ointment to his wounds. Meanwhile, Ichigo left the hospital and was walking home. The doctors said that Rukia would be okay and to get her tomorrow. When Ichigo walked in his house, he saw Naruto wrapped in bandages lying under his bed. Ichigo asked, What happened? That hollow that attacked Rukia attacked me and I killed it, replied Naruto. So, you killed your first hollow, good job, we will see if you have gotten any better, said Ichigo. Naruto Uzumaki just had turned 15. He had gotten much stronger and Ichigo and Rukia were much more powerful. Naruto had also learned how to initially release his Kitsunehonu. When in initial release, Kitsunehonu would become the size of Ichigo's sword. The upper half of the blade of Kitsunehonu would become all black, the lower half would become gray, and the upper half of the blade would have red kanjis on it. Naruto, Ichigo, and Rukia walked home from a long day of training. They walked through a forest near Ichigo's house. The sun was setting through the trees as the three Soul Reapers walked through the forest. They had no idea that a powerful Arrancar named Aizen watched them. That Naruto can be useful to me, said Aizen. Aizen continued to follow them. Hold on, said Rukia. She pulled out her cell phone and said, I just got an order, there is a hollow nearby. Let's go, said Ichigo. Right, said Naruto. The three Soul Reapers ran into the city with their swords drawn. They went into their Shinigami bodies and ran through the city looking for the hollow. When they found the hollow, Naruto said, Let me kill this hollow, I want to try the spell I just learned. Ichigo and Rukia nodded their heads. Hado spell number 78, Spinning Hell Inferno. Naruto made a small rotating fireball in his hand. He charged it for a couple of seconds. Then, he threw the small fireball. The fireball flew through the air. It was slow at first and the hollow easily moved out of the way. But right when it did, the fireball transformed into a huge, missile-shaped, spinning fireball bigger than the hollow. It locked onto the hollow. The fireball was fast enough to catch the hollow and kill it. So, he is stronger than I expected, said Aizen. Naruto, Ichigo, and Rukia put away their swords and walked home. They got home and lied in bed. They quickly fell asleep. Naruto slept silently under Ichigo's bed. After a couple of minutes, Naruto woke up because he heard something. Naruto crawled out of the underneath of Ichigo's bed. He looked around the room. He saw a dark figure in Ichigo's room. "Who are you, Ichigo, Rukia?" yelled Naruto. "That won't do you much good, they're under my Bakudo spells," said Aizen. "My name is Aizen, Naruto, come with me," said Aizen. "If you come with me, you will be much more powerful," said Aizen. "No," said Naruto. "Wait, you're Aizen, I remember, Ichigo and Rukia told me everything about you, I'm going to kill you," said Naruto. Naruto drew his sword and dashed at Aizen. Naruto tried to slash Aizen, but it was easy for him just to move out of the way. Naruto held his katana above his head and tried to slash downward towards Aizen's head. Aizen moved out of the way. Aizen walked behind Naruto. When he did, Aizen hit his neck with his shoulder. Naruto fell to the ground. He got up from the ground, but when he did, Aizen used a Bakudo spell. Naruto couldn't move, but he struggled and tried to break free of the spell. "I'm going to make you watch as I kill Ichigo and Rukia," said Aizen, drawing his katana. "No, get up, Naruto, get up," said Naruto. Aizen had his blade right above Ichigo. Naruto was able to break free as the blade was held above Ichigo. "You're too late," said Aizen. Aizen stabbed Ichigo, but it didn't kill Ichigo. It just knocked him unconscious and fatally injured him, but Naruto thought he was dead. "No," screamed Naruto. He felt tears roll down his eyes. "I was too weak," said Naruto. "I promise I will avenge you, Ichigo, and I will make you proud as I kill Aizen," said Naruto quietly to himself. Aizen started to walk over to Rukia with his bloody sword. "Now Rukia will die," said Aizen. "No, I'm going to kill you," screamed Naruto in a deep demonic voice. Kyuubi chakra started to form around half Naruto's body and a hollow mask covered his face. Aizen was surprised. "What is this?" said Aizen. Suddenly, Naruto teleported behind Aizen. His sword turned completely black. He was about to stab Aizen's neck, but Aizen teleported outside Ichigo's house. Naruto followed him. Naruto jumped in front of Aizen and launched constant sword strikes at Aizen. Aizen could block Naruto's attacks, but it was hard. After a couple of minutes of blocking sword strikes from Naruto, Aizen blocked one of Naruto's upper strikes, but that is what Naruto wanted him to. Naruto kicked him. Aizen flew back and hit a house. Naruto shot an enormous, swift blast of red and black energy. Aizen got hit with the beam. It really hurt him, but it wasn't fatal and it didn't break any of his bones. Naruto charged at him while launching small, fast blast of red and black energy. Aizen dodged most of them, but he still got hit with a few. The blast barely hurt him at all. Naruto attacked Aizen with his katana. Naruto kept on the offensive and attacked Aizen. Aizen kept blocking Naruto's attacks. Naruto's blade swiftly flew through the air, colliding with Aizen's blade. "If I was to attack, it would be easy for Naruto to slice me. I have to keep defending," thought Aizen while blocking Naruto's constant strikes. After about 30 seconds of attacking, Aizen blocked one of Naruto's upper attacks, but Naruto shot a blast of fire from his mouth. Aizen teleported right before the blast hit him. Aizen teleported behind Naruto and used his strongest Bakudo spell. Naruto would only be paralyzed for about a minute due to his hollow and Kyuubi state. Aizen stabbed him, but it didn't kill him, it just knocked him out. Aizen grabbed Naruto and put him on his shoulder. He went back to Las Noches with Naruto. A minute after that, Rukia had awoken. She walked out of Ichigo's closet. She screamed when she saw Ichigo's blood and the wound on his stomach. "Ichigo!" screamed Rukia. She immediately picked him up and ran to the hospital. She tried to get there as fast as she could. She ran through the dark streets of Japan. Ichigo's blood started to drip from her arms. The hospital was really close and Rukia was running incredibly fast. It only took Rukia 1 minute to get to the hospital. When she got to the hospital, she barged in the lobby. She ran to the front desk. "I need help. I found this guy lying on the ground with a badly bleeding wound," said Rukia frantically. The nurse immediately told Rukia to follow her to a room. Rukia and she ran through a couple of halls. The nurse walked to a door and opened it. Rukia laid Ichigo on a bed. The nurse felt Ichigo's neck to see if he had some vital signs. He had some vital signs, but they were low and he needed immediate medical attention. The nurse took some bandages and covered Ichigo's wound with them. "Excuse me, what is your phone number?" asked the nurse. 813-3111-1111. "I just put in a random Japanese phone number," said Rukia. "I will get some doctors right now," said the nurse. "I am afraid you will have to go now. We will call you when Ichigo has been treated and is ready to go home." Rukia nodded her head and walked out of the room in the halls. She walked in the lobby. She walked out of the lobby. Rukia walked through the dark streets to Ichigo's house. As she walked home, she remembered Naruto. She ran back home as fast as she could. It took her a minute to get back to Ichigo's house. Rukia looked under Ichigo's bed, but she didn't see Naruto. She looked everywhere around Ichigo's house, but she didn't find Naruto. Rukia stopped searching for Naruto and forged a note in Ichigo's handwriting and got a note from the hospital to make an excuse for his family and school. After she wrote the note, she looked for Naruto some more. Rukia even looked for Naruto around the city, but she didn't find him anywhere. The sun was starting to rise and Rukia ran back home. When she got home, she changed into her school uniform. Rukia grabbed the doctor's note for school. She ran to school. She got a phone call from the hospital after school. Ichigo was okay, treated, and ready to go home. Since he was okay and could walk, he walked home on his own. Rukia met him there and told him that Naruto was missing. "Whattt," yelled Ichigo. "Naruto is missing. I searched for him and couldn't find him," said Rukia. Just then, Rukia received a message from the Soul Society that Naruto has been spotted with Aizen and some other Arankars. It has been confirmed that Naruto joined Aizen and was at Las Noches. Ichigo slammed the wall in rage. "Aizen, I swear I will kill you and get Naruto back," said Ichigo. Ichigo went into his Shinigami body and said, "Rukia, I'm going to get Naruto back." "Ichigo, he is in Hueco Mundo. The only way you can get there is by creating a rip in the dimensional fabric separating our worlds, and there would be every hollow that existed there constantly attacking you," said Rukia. "You would need help from the Soul Society to get in the world and you would need an army of Soul Reapers to help you," said Rukia. Rukia added, "You will have to wait till Naruto comes to our world to see him." Ichigo went back into his Gigai and said, "You're right, when I see Naruto I will do everything to get him back, even if I have to break his bones or hurt him," said Ichigo. Rukia had just got another order from the Soul Society. Naruto had come to Ichigo's world-ing up souls to gain their power. Ichigo and Rukia went into their Shinigami bodies and ran towards Naruto's location. Ichigo Kurosaki and Rukia Kuchiki ran down a local street in Japan. They were heading to Naruto Uzumaki's position. Naruto had recently joined Aizen. Naruto was ordered by Aizen to up souls and absorb their power. Ichigo found Naruto absorbing souls near a local rice shop. Ichigo unsheathed his big sword from his back and Rukia unsheathed her sword from her sheath. Naruto saw them coming and immediately used a Sero Blast. Ichigo and Rukia jumped out of its way. Naruto dashed at Ichigo with his Kitsunehonu ready to strike. Naruto tried to slash at Ichigo's chest, but Ichigo blocked it. "Naruto, why did you join Aizen? You should have stayed a Soul Reaper. You can still leave Aizen and become a Soul Reaper," said Ichigo. "No, Aizen reveled to me that I was a hollow inside. He let me join the Arankars, and he made me much stronger," said Naruto. "Ichigo," yelled Rukia. "Rukia, stay out of this," said Ichigo. Rukia stopped in her tracks. Naruto continued to throw constant sword strikes at Ichigo, but Ichigo just kept blocking them. After about 30 seconds of sword battling, Naruto shot another Sero Blast from his mouth at Ichigo. Ichigo was barely able to avoid it. Ichigo didn't want to kill Naruto, but he would not care if he badly injured him. He mainly used Bakudo spells, weak Hado spells, and non-lethal cuts and slashes. Ichigo's blade and Naruto's blade swiftly moved through the air colliding with each other. Naruto used a powerful Sero Blast after 30 seconds of fighting Ichigo with his sword. Naruto shot the Sero Blast from his mouth. Ichigo was able to dodge it. As Ichigo jumped above it, Naruto shot a Bala Blast at him. Ichigo got hit with the blast, but he wasn't hurt badly. As Ichigo landed on the ground, Naruto assaulted him with his sword. Ichigo and Naruto fought each other with their swords. The two metal objects clashed a multitude of times. Ichigo fought Naruto with his sword for a minute until he used a Hado spell. Naruto is too strong for my weak Hado spells, so I am going to use one of my stronger Hado spells, thought Ichigo. Hado spell number 98, Flames of Hell, said Ichigo. When Naruto heard Ichigo say the name of a Hado spell, he stayed back. Naruto heard the ground crack. When he looked at the ground, he saw flames dash toward him. Naruto used Sonido to help him avoid those powerful flames. Even with Sonido, Naruto was barely able to get away from those flames. When those flames went back in the ground and the crack closed, Ichigo said, Hado spell number 48, Rapid Fire Blasts. Ichigo launched small, fast blasts of fire at Naruto. Naruto used his Sonido to dodge the fire blasts and move up to Ichigo. Ichigo used his swift steps to counter Naruto's Sonido. They flashed by each other, constantly swinging their blades towards each other's body. The sword battle had continued for 30 minutes. Naruto used his Sonido in conjunction with his Sero blasts. Ichigo got hit with every one of those Sero blasts. Ichigo was badly injured and bleeding really badly. His blood had covered the floor and flowed out. Naruto used his Sonido again and got up to Ichigo. Then he used a Bakudo spell on Ichigo. Ichigo tried to break free, but he couldn't. Naruto held his sword above his head. Naruto, leave Aizen and become a Soul Reaper, begged Ichigo. No, said Naruto. Naruto moved his sword downward towards Ichigo's head. But right before it hit his head, a long metal whip tied around the blade. Naruto pulled his sword out of the whip. Renji stood there with his sword in initial release. Rukia stood beside him. Renji, Rukia, said Ichigo. I got help, said Rukia. Renji tried to hit Naruto with his metal whip while Rukia ran to Ichigo. Rukia tried to break the spell placed on Ichigo. While Rukia tried to break the spell, Renji fought Naruto. Naruto tried to get close to Renji to slice him, but Renji held him off with his metal whip. Naruto moved left and right while blocking Renji's attacks. Naruto continually used Sero blasts, but Renji avoided most of them. Naruto shot a fast, extremely powerful, rotating Sero blast that was shaped like a dragon head. Renji jumped above it, but when he did, Naruto shot him with a Bala blast. Naruto used his Sonido again. Renji returned his sword to normal, ready to fight Naruto. Renji landed on the ground and fought Naruto with his sword. They moved their swords through the air, repeatedly trying to slash each other. They fought with their swords for 20 seconds before Naruto shot a powerful Sero blast from his hand. Renji was barely able to move out of the way, but he did. Renji said, Hado spell number 57, Twin Snake Lightning. Renji shot two big, snake-shaped blasts of lightning that rotated around each other. Naruto moved around it towards Renji. Naruto used his Sonido to get up to Renji. Naruto sliced his shoulder and then he was able to stab him. Blood flew out of the big wound on his shoulder and chest. Renji wasn't dead, he was fatally injured and unconscious. Naruto tried to stab Renji while he was unconscious, but Ichigo blocked it. Ichigo picked up Renji and laid him to Rukia because she had medical supplies, healing spells, and she could treat Renji's wounds. Ichigo ran towards Naruto and fought him with his sword. Ichigo and Naruto moved their blades swiftly through the air, trying to cut each other with their swords. Naruto fought him with his sword for 50 seconds until he used a powerful Sero blast. The Sero blast was shaped like a wolf head and it was extremely powerful and fast. Ichigo used his swift steps to avoid it. Naruto saw him and shot the same, wolf-shaped Sero blast at him. Ichigo managed to dodge that blast too. Naruto ran up to him and got ready to attack. Naruto fought Ichigo with his sword. Their swords flew through the air. The metal blades clashed as the sound of metal colliding filled the air. After a minute of Naruto and Ichigo fighting with their swords, Naruto jumped back a couple of feet. He gathered dark energy in his hand. The orb of dark energy got bigger as Naruto charged it up. Ichigo tried to slash Naruto while he was charging it up, but Naruto avoided Ichigo's sword strikes. After 10 seconds of charging it up, Naruto's orb of dark energy was about the size of his body. Naruto threw the big orb of dark energy at Ichigo. He tried to jump over it. He was able to, but he was an inch away from the orb. Ichigo landed in front of it and ran towards Naruto. The orb exploded behind Ichigo and created a huge crater on the ground. After Naruto blocked Ichigo's sword strike, Ichigo jumped back about 9 feet. Then, his sword went into its final release. Naruto had learned how to turn his sword into its final release. In final release, Naruto's Kitsune Honu would be even bigger, a little bigger than his body. The upper half of the blade would be made of pure dark matter and the lower half of the blade would actually be on fire and made of flames. The dark matter could cut through just about anything and was tremendously powerful. In order for dark matter to cut a person's sword, the sword would have to be weaker than Naruto's blade. Naruto charged to Ichigo while getting ready to strike. Naruto got up to Ichigo and tried to slash at his neck. Ichigo held up his sword and blocked Naruto's attack. Ichigo and Naruto swiftly moved their blades through the air trying to cut one another. Loud, high-pitched sounds filled the air as the fire and the dark blades smashed against each other. After Naruto and Ichigo fought each other with their swords for 10 minutes, Naruto made a small dark orb with red lightning surrounding it. Then, he made the orb the size of his head in a second. Finally, he shot a gigantic Ceroblast of powerful black energy surrounded by red lightning. Ichigo tried to move away from it, but he wasn't fast enough. Blood gushed out of a huge wound on the opposite side of his heart. The blood flowed down his clothes and flowed on the ground. Ichigo put his hand over his wound on his chest. He kneeled on the ground. "This is it for you, Ichigo Kurosaki. Aizen will be proud," said Naruto as he held his sword above his head. "Move, Ichigo, move," thought Ichigo as he tried to move. Naruto's blade moved down towards Ichigo's head. Suddenly, Ichigo was able to instantly use swift steps to move back away from Naruto's blade. "Impossible," thought Naruto to himself. When Ichigo looked up at Naruto, he had a hollow mask covering half of his face, his eyes were black, and his pupils were yellow and black. Hollow Ichigo dashed towards Naruto with his sword in final release. Naruto immediately held his sword in front of him in a defense position. Hollow Ichigo barbarically attacked Naruto with his sword. Naruto could barely block Hollow Ichigo's attacks because they were so powerful and fast. He fought Naruto with his sword for 20 seconds until he kicked Naruto in his stomach. Naruto got the breath knocked out of him and let down his guard. Hollow Ichigo touched Naruto's chest and used a Ceroblast. Blood flew out of the huge wound on Naruto's chest. Naruto kneeled down due to the increasing pain and blood loss. Hollow Ichigo used a series of 12 powerful punches to injure Naruto some more. Naruto fell to the ground unconscious. Hollow Ichigo held his dark, full-released katana above his head. He was about to slice off Naruto's head, but Yoruichi blocked it. She grabbed Naruto and jumped back a couple of feet. If Ichigo is in his hollow state, then he would kill Naruto without hesitation, and I won't let that happen, thought Yoruichi while dodging Hollow Ichigo's attacks. Yoruichi held Naruto while avoiding Hollow Ichigo's attacks. She got up to Hollow Ichigo and punched him. When he hit the ground, Yoruichi took Naruto to Rukia to be treated. She laid Naruto down by Rukia and fought Hollow Ichigo. Yoruichi only used non-fatal, hand-to-hand attacks. Hollow Ichigo tried to shoot Yoruichi with powerful Ceroblast and fast Bala Blast, but Yoruichi evaded them with ease. She hit Hollow Ichigo with fast, painful, but non-lethal punches. Hollow Ichigo got hurt and fell to the ground after a barrage of flash punches. Hollow Ichigo got up from the ground and used swift steps to get to Yoruichi. Hollow Ichigo got up to Yoruichi and started to try to slash her, but she dodged the blade and tried to counterattack. Hollow Ichigo avoided her counter-attacks. Hollow Ichigo and Yoruichi constantly attacked each other and dodged each other's attacks. Rukia used her best healing spells to heal Naruto's wound. After 5 minutes of using her best healing spells, Naruto woke up and was treated. Rukia walked back to Renji to continue healing his wounds. Naruto got out his Kitsune Honu and put it in final release. Then, he charged at Hollow Ichigo ready to attack. Naruto saw Yoruichi but tried to attack Hollow Ichigo. Yoruichi used flash steps to get back by Rukia away from Naruto and Hollow Ichigo. Naruto's huge blade and Hollow Ichigo's smaller blade clashed. Hollow Ichigo and Naruto fought an intense sword battle with each other. Renji, who had regained consciousness, Rukia, and Yoruichi were stunned at the amount of spirit pressure that was in the area. Naruto and Hollow Ichigo directed their blades through the air very swiftly and powerfully towards each other's body. The sound of the two blades colliding spread throughout the area. After 30 minutes of intense sword battling, Hollow Ichigo jumped in the air and used an ultra-powerful, swift, and huge Sero Blast. Naruto wasn't near fast enough to evade the Sero Blast. The Sero Blast fatally injured Naruto. He had deep scars covering his body and he is bleeding profusely. Hollow Ichigo swung his sword downward and launched a vertical wave of energy. Naruto dodged it, but Hollow Ichigo launched more as he ran closer to Naruto. As Hollow Ichigo got closer to Naruto, he got hit with more and more of Hollow Ichigo's vertical energy blast. He was badly injured and bleeding severely. Hollow Ichigo was able to cut him diagonally across his chest. Blood flew out of the huge scar on Naruto's chest as he fell to the ground. Hollow Ichigo got ready to stab Naruto as he was on the ground, but Ichigo fought back his inner Hollow. "No, I won't let you kill Naruto," said Ichigo. "Yes, I will kill Naruto. Now stop getting in the way," said his inner Hollow. Ichigo kept fighting back and eventually regained control of his right arm and leg. He grabbed his mask and ripped it off. Ichigo screamed in pain as blood flew out of his face. Ichigo regained complete control of himself, but he was badly injured. Yoruichi ran to Ichigo and picked him up. She laid him by Rukia to be treated. Ichigo was still conscious as Rukia applied ointment to his face and tied it in bandages. Yoruichi ran by Naruto and held him in her arms. She felt his neck to check his vital signs. She felt that his vital signs were okay, but he was severely and badly injured. Naruto woke up and looked up at Yoruichi. He actually loved Yoruichi and trained with her a lot. He slowly got up and stood on his feet. Naruto walked over to Kitsunehonu and sheathed it. He walked back over to Yoruichi. He said, "Yoruichi, I will say it before I go back with Aizen, I love you." She replied, "I have always loved you too." Naruto walked over to her and kissed her. Yoruichi and Naruto made out for 5 seconds. Naruto slowly moved his head back away from Yoruichi. He sensed Aizen behind him. He looked behind him to see Aizen and Grimmjow. "Naruto, we have found a way to return to your world. Now let's go back to Los Notches so we can open the portal to your world," said Aizen. Naruto nodded his head and said, "Yoruichi, before I go, I love you." Yoruichi said, "I love you." Aizen had opened a portal back to Los Notches and told Naruto to come with him. Naruto walked towards the portal and stepped inside. The portal closed and Yoruichi walked to Rukia, Renji, and Ichigo. "Rukia, Aizen and Naruto are going to Naruto's world. We have to contact Soul Society to open a portal back to Naruto's world," said Yoruichi. Rukia nodded her head and started sending a message to Soul Society. Ichigo, Rukia, Renji, Yoruichi, Toshiro, Izuru, Shuhei, Rangaku, and Yumachika awaited Jashiro Yukitaki in the Soul Society. They stood on a dirt road surrounded by rows of wooden, feudal Japan-style houses. "Everything looks just as boring as before," said Ichigo. Rukia responded by hitting him on his head. Ichigo quickly got up and swept the dirt off his uniform. Then, he started yelling at Rukia. Rukia responded by yelling at him. The two started to argue. Yoruichi, Toshiro, and his team heard them yell and argue at each other over and over again while wondering if they always did that. After about 5 minutes of waiting, Yoruichi, Toshiro, and his team saw a figure in the distance walking towards their position. Ichigo and Rukia stopped their bickering and calmly stood in position. That person walked closer and revealed himself as Jashiro Yukitaki. Jashiro was surprised to see Yoruichi after all this time, but he still let Yoruichi go to Naruto's world with Ichigo and Toshiro's team because they needed all the help they could get. He explained to everybody that there is an emergency situation in Naruto's world. Aizen is ing up souls of ninja, and that is bad. The souls of ninja in Naruto's world will make him much more powerful than normal souls will, said Jashiro. Jashiro explained, the souls of ninja have chakra in them, which will make his normal spirit energy escalate at an extremely fast rate, and he will also learn all of that ninjas just as instantly, allowing him to use them. We must stop him at all cost. Now I will make a portal, and when I do, jump in it, it will take you to Naruto's world, said Jashiro while taking out his sword. Soul Reapers will continue to monitor and watch you while you're in Naruto's world, and if you need anything send us a message, said Jashiro while holding his sword above his head. Ichigo is captain during this mission and is in charge of everything as well, said Jashiro. He gathered visible spirit energy around his blade and slashed his sword downward, making a portal in the air. Ichigo and his team ran in the portal. They all immediately landed between the village gate and the forest surrounding Konoha. They all ran up the wall instead of looking for a village entrance. When they reached the top, they jumped off of it and landed on a dirt road between two houses that had big trees surrounding them. Follow me, I can sense Naruto's position, said Rukia while running down the dirt road. Ichigo took his sword from his back and took off the bandages on the blade while following Rukia. Rukia unsheathed her small katana while leading everyone through Konoha. Naruto, I'll break your arms and legs before I let you go back to Aizen, thought Ichigo. While they were following Rukia, Yoruichi said, Ichigo, please don't kill Naruto, if you do I will never forgive you. Don't worry, I won't kill him, I will just knock some sense into him, replied Ichigo. Yoruichi nodded her head. Rukia could sense Naruto getting closer and closer as they ran through the village. They ran through the dirt roads of Konoha and jumped through the buildings and trees of the village. They were all in their Soul Reaper bodies so no one could see them. Ichigo saw the villagers going about with their daily lives and ninja wearing green battlesuits patrolling the village. Ichigo and his team saw a strong hollow standing in front of them. Ichigo held his sword in front of him. He charged at it and said, "Get out of my way." Ichigo sliced the hollow in half. Drops of blood stained Ichigo's uniform and blood splattered on the ground. Ichigo, Renji, Toshiro, Izuru, Shuhei, Rangaku, and Yumachika continued to follow Rukia as she followed her senses to Naruto's location. After they ran around the village for 15 minutes looking for Naruto, they found him walking towards the Hokage's office. Naruto was actually in a Gigai, but he still wore his Arrancar uniform and he still had his sword by his side. Everybody looked astonished when they saw Naruto. Everybody remembered him and everybody still hated him. All of the children remembered him too, but now they were Chunin or Jonin and were 15. Naruto was planning to steal the Hokage's soul and give it to Aizen so he could absorb its power. Naruto had sensed Ichigo and he saw him 5 feet behind him. Naruto decided to start running towards the big wall surrounding Konoha. Ichigo and his team quickly followed him. Naruto continued to lead them to the outer forest of Konoha so no one would see him fighting Ichigo. He continued to run through the village and he jumped through the rooftops of some of the houses. Naruto got impatient and used Sonido so Ichigo and the others following him would use their swift steps to follow Naruto outside the village. It took Naruto 30 minutes to lead Ichigo, Rukia, and Yoruichi to the gate of the village. When Naruto reached the foot of the wall, he ran up the wall. Ichigo and his crew did the same. When Naruto reached the top of the wall, he jumped off of it and landed in the forest. Ichigo and his crew jumped off the wall to Naruto's position. When Ichigo saw Naruto, he held his large sword in front of him and Naruto unsheathed Kitsune Honu. "I hope that chase didn't wear you out. I don't want you to be tired as I test my skills before I kill you," said Naruto. Ichigo didn't reply, he just stood there with his sword. Naruto had been in his Soul Reaper body since they left the Hidden Leaf village. Ichigo held his sword in a defense position. Rukia stopped everybody from interfering with Naruto and Ichigo's battle. She told them what Jashiro told her. Ichigo and Naruto charged at each other with their blades in front of their faces. They moved their blades in different directions trying to cut each other. Both of their blades were in initial release. The blades banged against each other constantly. After Ichigo and Naruto fought with their swords for 1 minute, Ichigo said, "Naruto, you're not an Arrancar. You never were a Hollow and Aizen betrayed Soul Society. I was never a Hollow, but Aizen never was a Hollow either, and he leads his own group of Arrancars while making them much more powerful," said Naruto. "Naruto, I am going to break your bones before I let you go back to Aizen," said Ichigo. I would like to see you try, said Naruto. He pushed Ichigo back with the blade of his sword and said, Hado spell number 56, multiple lightning flashes. Naruto rapidly shot huge blasts of powerful lightning at Ichigo. Ichigo dodged most of them, but he got hit with the last two. Ichigo was hurt and burned pretty badly, but he still continued to fight Naruto. Ichigo said, Bakudo spell number 46, rock binding. Rocks came behind Naruto and bound his hands together while more rocks bound his legs together. Naruto struggled to get out of his rocky prison, but it was no use. Ichigo cut him across his chest. Blood flew out of the deep scar in his chest. Naruto got hurt, but he didn't get hurt too badly. He was able to grab his sword after the spell wore off. Naruto and Ichigo continued to fight with their swords. Naruto and Ichigo directed their blades through the air with their arms trying to cut each other. The swords clashed and the sound of the two metal objects colliding filled the air. Ichigo was able to knock the breath out of Naruto by punching him in his stomach after he fought Naruto with his sword for 5 minutes. Ichigo punched Naruto in the air and used his swift steps to get above him. Ichigo punched Naruto back to the ground. Naruto got up from the ground and got Kitsune Honu. Naruto took Kitsune Honu and released it into final release. Ichigo did the same to his sword. Ichigo said, Getsuga Kuroi, and started shooting powerful, black, red outlined energy blast from the tip of his sword. The energy blasts moved towards Naruto at a very fast speed. They were too fast for Naruto to dodge by himself, so he used Sonido. Ichigo opened fire with his Getsuga Kuroi some more. Naruto used Sonido to help him dodge the energy blasts again. Naruto dodged them all, but Ichigo used swift steps to get behind Naruto. He tried to slice his shoulder, but Naruto turned his body around and blocked the blow. Naruto and Ichigo continued to fight each other with their swords. They swiftly moved their blades through the air trying to slice each other. Every second the two blades clashed and the sound of the two metal objects filled the air. Ichigo and Naruto fought each other for almost an hour until Naruto started using Sonido to flash around Ichigo. As he flashed around Ichigo, he sliced him with Kitsune Honu. Ichigo received multiple scars across his body as he felt the warmth of his own blood drip down his chest. Naruto stabbed Ichigo after he slashed him so many times. Then, Naruto punched him to the ground and held his sword above his head. Ichigo lost so much blood and was injured so badly he couldn't get up, he could only lie there on the ground. Yoruichi flashed behind Naruto and grabbed his right arm, which was the arm in which he was holding Kitsune Honu. Rukia sensed ninjas coming to their position. They saw huge flashes of lightning and some of the forest they were in was destroyed. Rukia told all of Ichigo's team to distract and mislead the ninja away from our position. Everyone on Ichigo's team headed in different directions to distract and mislead the ninjas. Rukia continued to monitor Ichigo, Naruto, and Yoruichi as the rest of Ichigo's team distracted the Konoha ninjas. Naruto stepped on Yoruichi's right foot, and then he slightly turned his body to the right. Finally, he punched Yoruichi in her stomach. She loosened her grip a lot and Naruto easily broke free. Naruto let down his guard when he saw Yoruichi because he thought Ichigo was unconscious and he knew Yoruichi wouldn't attack him. But letting down his guard was a big mistake. Ichigo had gone into his hollow state. Hollow Ichigo stabbed Naruto when he let down his guard. Hollow Ichigo said, Hado spell number 99, Wolf Fang Moon Cutter. Hollow Ichigo shot a giant blast of powerful, dark energy that was shaped like a wolf as his sword was lodged in Naruto. Blood gushed out of Naruto's giant wound on his chest. He fell to the ground while more and more blood gushed out of his severe wound in his chest. Naruto was now on the verge of death. His condition was unstable, he had lost so much blood, and he had received a fatal blow. Yoruichi rushed by his side to bring him to Rukia, who had been watching Naruto and Ichigo's battle, so she could use her healing spells, ointment, and medicine to try to heal Naruto. Hollow Ichigo tried to slash her with his sword, but she just dodged it. Yoruichi jumped above one of Hollow Ichigo's sword strikes and kicked him in the face. Hollow Ichigo fell to the ground while Yoruichi flashed by Rukia. Yoruichi laid Naruto by Rukia. She said, Rukia, use your best healing spell and use your best ointments and medicine. Rukia nodded her head and Yoruichi tried to hold Hollow Ichigo off. Rukia made a large orb of visible spirit energy and then put it inside of Naruto. When she did, his skin started to regenerate, his blood drastically increased instantly, his vital signs started to rise, his organs were healed, and he regained consciousness. "What? I feel like my wounds have been healed and I have been restored. What happened?" said Naruto in confusion. "Ichigo fatally hurt you because he went into his hollow state and couldn't control himself. I treated your wounds with my best healing spell," said Rukia faintly. "Wait, I am your enemy and you treated my wounds?" asked Naruto. "Yes," said Rukia. "Ichigo said you are never his enemy and he would never kill you. He doesn't want you to die and said to treat any of your wounds once he beats you no matter what," said Rukia. Naruto didn't say anything for a couple of seconds. "Thank you, Rukia," said Naruto. "No cough problem," said Rukia very faintly. She suddenly fell unconscious. "Rukia," said Naruto. He felt her neck to make sure she was okay. She was fine, she was just completely drained of any type of spirit and she fell unconscious. Naruto saw Yoruichi dodging Hollow Ichigo's attacks and constantly using counter-attacks against him. Naruto took Kitsune Honu and said, "Bakudo spell number 78, Spirit Binding." Spirit energy in the form of a giant ring suddenly appeared and bound Hollow Ichigo. "What the hell is this?" said Hollow Ichigo as he struggled to get out of it. Naruto walked by Yoruichi as she let down her guard as his Bakudo spell bound Hollow Ichigo. Then, he took Kitsune Honu and smashed Hollow Ichigo's mask. Cracks slowly covered the mask. It broke and Hollow Ichigo screamed as Ichigo fought for control. Naruto couldn't restrain him, so the spell wore off. Ichigo eventually got control of himself. Ichigo picked up his finally released black katana and held it in front of him. Naruto had his sword in his hand, but his guard was lowered. Yoruichi stood by his side. "I won't fight you, Ichigo, but I won't leave Aizen or go back to becoming a Soul Reaper," said Naruto. Ichigo replied, "Naruto, leave Aizen. He won't help you and I have been ordered by Soul Society to kill you if you don't leave Aizen, but I don't care what they say, I will not kill you. Leave Aizen, he will turn you against everybody you know and turn against you and betray you eventually." Naruto just stood there and said, "Aizen made me stronger, he treated me like I was his son, he won't betray me, he has never betrayed any of his Arankars." "Naruto," said Ichigo while gripping his sword tightly. Suddenly, a voice from behind Naruto said, "Naruto, kill Ichigo now, strike him down." When Naruto looked behind him, it was Aizen. "Aizen, Ichigo wouldn't kill me and would treat my wounds, I won't kill him," said Naruto. "Then I will kill one of your friends until you strike him down," said Aizen. Aizen pointed his finger at Yoruichi. Then, he shot a small Sero blast at her. It was so fast Yoruichi couldn't dodge it and it was so deadly, it fatally injured Yoruichi. Blood dripped on the ground and dripped down her shirt. "I shall finish her now," said Aizen. "Damn you, Aizen, damn you," screamed Naruto as he charged at Aizen with Kitsune Honu unsheathed. It was still in final release. Naruto got up to Aizen and tried to slash his head, but he used flash steps to get around him. Then, he smashed the back of his neck with his shoulder. "Naruto," said Ichigo while charging at Aizen with his sword. "Hado spell number 89, Dual Snake Lightning," said Ichigo. Ichigo shot a two-giant blast of lightning shaped like snakes. The lightning blast destroyed a small part of the forest they were in. Aizen simply used swift steps to evade Ichigo's attack. "Bakudo spell number 78, Ties of Imprisonment," said Aizen. Ichigo's arms suddenly went behind his back and were bound together by steel chains along with his legs. Naruto quickly got up from the ground and charged at Aizen with Kitsune Honu in front of him. He ran across the dirt past uprooted trees and tree stumps. Naruto tried to stab Aizen, but he used swift steps to get behind Naruto and punch him in the back of his neck again. Naruto fell to the ground injured. Naruto tried to get up, but Aizen stepped on his back pushing him down. "Aizen, you bastard, you killed Yoruichi. I will never forgive and I should have never left Soul Society," said Naruto. Aizen picked him up by his shirt and threw him against some trees. Naruto smashed through the trees and landed on the dirt. Aizen walked over to him with his sword drawn. "Naruto, yelled Ichigo while trying to break free from the Bakudo spell. It's no use, now I will make you watch as I kill Naruto. Ichigo continued to struggle to break free of the spell. Ichigo used all of his strength and broke free of the spell. What? How did he? Asked Aizen in confusion. Ichigo used swift steps to get up to Aizen. He tried to slice Aizen with finally released Zangetsu. Ichigo tried to slice Aizen's neck, but he sensed Ichigo and grabbed his blade. What? He grabbed my blade with his bare hands, said Ichigo. Aizen, fight me. I am your opponent. Ichigo, let me fight Aizen, said Naruto, getting up from the ground with finally released Kitsunehonu in his hands. Aizen kicked Ichigo back 8 feet and then unsheathed his sword. Naruto had gotten up on his feet leaning on his sword. He looked up at Aizen and used swift steps. He instantly appeared in front of Aizen and tried to slice his chest. Aizen blocked Naruto's attack with his sword and then kicked him in his stomach. Naruto let down his guard and then Aizen punched him against a tree. Once Naruto slammed against the tree, Aizen used Sonito to get up to him. He started rapidly punching Naruto. Ichigo came running at Aizen with his sword. Aizen saw him coming and threw Naruto at Ichigo. Naruto, I will be back, and when I come back you will go with me to Hueco Mundo and become an Arrancar, said Aizen while making a portal. Aizen made a portal and walked into it. Just as he did, the rest of Ichigo's team arrived. The portal closed as Naruto slowly got up and walked by Yoruichi. Blood covered her uniform and surrounded her body. Naruto felt her neck to make sure she was dead. When he felt her neck, she had some vital signs, but they were pretty low and she needed medical attention. Naruto pulled some bandages and ointment from his Arrancar uniform and started applying them to Yoruichi's wound. Then, he picked her up from the ground. Rukia, yelled Ichigo. She is okay, she is just unconscious, she used every bit of her spirit energy to heal me, said Naruto. Ichigo picked up Rukia from the ground and pulled her mobile phone out of her uniform. He sent Soul Society a message to pull them out of Naruto's world due to an emergency situation. Just as he did, the rest of his team arrived. We distracted the ninjas and lead them away from your position. We need to leave fast. Ninjas will be all over this place soon, said Toshiro. Ichigo explained to everybody that Naruto left Aizen and Yoruichi needs immediate medical attention. In the message, he also included that Naruto had left Aizen, became a Soul Reaper once again, and he didn't up a single soul. It only took Soul Society 5 seconds to get the message. Naruto, Ichigo, and his team waited for Jashiro to reverse the effects of the portal he opened. Once he reversed the effects, a portal would open in Naruto's world leading back to Soul Society. Ichigo and Naruto saw a portal open in front of them after 5 seconds of waiting. They walked in it and ended up in the same location from where they left. Naruto laid Yoruichi down on the ground and asked, Ichigo, what do we now? He said, we will wait for Jashiro to get here. Naruto was nervous about meeting Jashiro for the first time, especially after he joined Aizen. As Naruto waited, he looked around Soul Society. Naruto had never been in Soul Society before or even met his division leader despite being part of the 13th Division. Soul Society is boring, said Naruto. Someone hit him on the back of his head. Shut up, said Rukia. I have regained consciousness, said Rukia. Naruto got up from the ground and brushed off the dirt from his uniform and responded by yelling at Rukia. Hey, I see someone coming, said Ichigo. Naruto and Rukia instantly shut up and stood in position by Ichigo. That person came up to Ichigo, Naruto, Toshiro, Izuru, Shuhei, Rangaku, and Yumachika and revealed himself to be Jashiro Yukitaki. Sir, Yoruichi needs immediate medical attention, said Naruto. I see, said Jashiro. He pulled out a Soul Reaper uniform and gave it to Naruto. Put those on as soon as you get the chance, said Jashiro while picking up Yoruichi. I will take her to the medical center, said Jashiro. I will call you Rukia when Yoruichi's wounds have been treated, said Jashiro. For now, Ichigo, Rukia, and Naruto go back to Karakura town and patrol it. Toshiro, you and Rangaku patrol Soul Society and the rest of you report back to your captains, said Jashiro while walking away. Jashiro opened a portal back to Ichigo's world while he walked away. Ichigo, Rukia, and Naruto ended up back at the Kurosaki house. Naruto changed back into his Soul Reaper uniform and burned his Arrancar uniform. The end. Now we will see you in the next video.